Hello everyone, we are back once again with the session of 16th of October 2021. And it was a festival yesterday, so due to the festival, that there has been a no issue of Hindu yesterday, so that is the reason why we have not taken a session, right? So we are back here today with the news that has been there, which has happened in the last 2 days, that has been given in the newspaper, and here we'll be trying to cover not just one newspaper, but in fact we'll try to cover the multiple newspapers of the day, right? So let's not delay much and we'll start the session now, right? So before we start, as usually, guys, coming to Unacademy's platform, right? Unacademy has given the best for its rankers, many top educators have launched different kind of batches, and a lot of test series have been started by Unacademy, which has helped a lot of learners basically to top and excel in the exam in the year 2020. And yes, Unacademy gives you the top educators who would be providing you the courses in both English as well as Hindi, as well as in bilingual also. You have a test series which is of prelims as well as mains as per the optional too. You have doubts clearing session, you have answer writing sessions, whatnot. In fact, Unacademy provides you whatever that you need for the exam. It's just that you demand and we will give you what you need, right? With respect to this, there is one interesting thing that has come, right? Till 20th of October there would be an offer on Unacademy Plus subscription, that if anyone is taking the Unacademy subscription, right, for both GS and optional or iconic or optional, you would be getting 25% plus 10%. That's a total of 35% in one way that you would be getting, and this offer would be valid till 20th of October. So that is an amazing offer that you have. And also with respect to the combo, with respect to this, yep, you also would be having the test series, and yes, this would be providing you the best benefits too. And most importantly, there is a 3-month festive combo that would be there, that is also would be there, you would be having 10% plus 10%. If you're taking a 3-month subscription, you will get a 20% of discount here, that too valid till 20th of October, right? So this would be you can use the code to get a 10% additional discount on whatever the things that you're taking up with, right? Many top educators are also starting their optional courses starting from 21st of October, and many batch courses have already been started, that will be started, many of these would be started on 20th of October also, right? And last but not least, the most important thing is that tomorrow at 11 a.m. you all would be having a UPSC CSE combat held on Unacademy, which is exclusively of history and polity special. So you could join that and you would be competing with many learners, and you will be getting a good chance to win the scholarship of Unacademy, right? So let's not delay much and start the topics of the day. And coming to the topics, we have some really amazing topics here. So for the first thing that we have, the first topic is regarding the Global Hunger Index 2021. I'm sure all of you must have heard about it, that where there has been media reports which tries to show to the world that India is suffering. Yep, according to this particular index that's called Global Hunger Index, they say that India's position has slipped to 101st. They rank only 116 countries, and out of this India's position is 101. That means 15 more countries are there which are least, so India is just above these last 15 countries. So India in the last year ranking of 2020, it was ranked 94, and this time it has dropped down to rank 101. So which means India has performed just better than some countries like Papua New Guinea, Afghanistan, Nigeria, Congo, Mozambique, Sierra Leone, Timor-Leste, Haiti, Liberia, Madagascar, Democratic Republic of Congo, Chad, Central African Republic, Yemen, and Somalia. So India has performed just better than these particular nations. So a total of 18 countries, which includes China, Kuwait, and Brazil, have shared the top rank, where they have showed very well that there is no hunger and all. This is something they are pointing out to. So this report is prepared by an aid agency called Concern Worldwide and a German organization called as World Hunger Life. So they talk about India's situation with respect to the hunger as alarming. They say India's situation with respect to hunger is alarming, where India's score has dropped down from 38.8 in the year 2000 to 28.8 to 27.5 from 2012 to 2021. So they say the ranking of the score that we're getting under the index of global hunger index has brought down. But the question would be this: how do you calculate this global hunger index? So they take four indicators here. One is undernourishment, one is child wastage, one is child stunting, another is child mortality. We'll try to go in details of this in few minutes. Okay, so we'll go in details. Now I'll repeat the four indicators: undernourishment, child wastage, child stunting, and child mortality. So these are the four indicators that are taken. And this report says, the amount of wasting that is there among the children has increased from 17.1% to 17.3%. So especially during COVID-19 pandemic, right, a lot of restrictions have been imposed on India, especially with respect to the movement of the people and all. There has been a lot of people have been affected with respect to that. So they say that the country of India has seen the highest ever child wastage in the world. Countries like Nepal, Bangladesh, Myanmar and Pakistan have done better according to the report where it comes to the feeding its citizens. It doesn't mean that they are totally fine. Even they are also under the same category. Very specifically, they talk about alarming. But India did show a better thing in one area, that is under 5 mortality rate. India has done a better thing. So this is definitely something very, very important. Food security has to be taken up very seriously, because we also have zero hunger by 2030 is one of the sustainable development goals. We need to achieve this particular goal also. That would remain one of the other important things. But what exactly is this index? As I told you that this index is being started, or every year it is released by an organization called Wealth, Hunger, Life and Concern Worldwide. Since 2000 they have started it, and this year, the year of 2021, is the one which is the 15th report of them. Okay, so if a country is getting a low score, if a country is getting a low score, and compared to this, what happens when a country is getting a low score, it means it will get a higher ranking. So the point is that whenever it comes to the score perspective, it is how many people are hunger out of 100. If the score is 1, that is a good thing. If 100 are hunger, that is a bad thing. So the lower the score, that indicates the better the performance of those particular countries. As we know that it is important to track the hunger in the world. We want to achieve the concept of zero hunger by 2030. So the point is, generally, people think that when people are suffering with hunger, we generally think that it is just a food deprivation. But in fact, it is much more. It is not just the hunger alone, but they also take into consideration different kind of areas here. Because, it's not just about hungry. If a person is eating some food, and if the nutritional status is not good, if the nutrients that are needed for the body is not there, absolutely that is not right too. So, a hunger, when we talk about, it's just a very single component. In fact, it's a very, very broader thing that we have to take here. But now, how does they measure this particular hunger? As I told you already, how do they measure that particular hunger? The point, as I already told you, that undernourishment, that is how many people are suffering with respect to undernourished food. That is, they are eating the food or anything, but the nutrients are not going. So that could be one thing. Child wastage is nothing but who has low weight for their height. Okay, so that sort of thing we will consider under this. Child stunting is that who have low height for their age. So stunted growth we say na. Then we have child mortality, about how there is a death of a children is happening under the age of 5. So every country would be ranked on a 100-point scale, and the final score is calculated, giving different kind of components. For example, I told you 4 different parameters, right? So in this 4, component 1 and 4, they will give 33.33%. That means they will become 66.66%. Another one is going to be 16.66%. The remaining, so into 2. So this in this way, they try to come across with this particular score, and they will be putting this particular countries under the list. So that is about the global hunger index. So India has been a country which has suffered and performed really very bad according to the performance of the ranking, but still government will not accept about the sample data and all. That's a very common thing. Moving on to the next topic. See, many of us are, all of us are educated. In fact, whoever are here today, I'm sure that I could say that all of us are educated. And when you're talking about this education, the point is, if there is any person who is suffering with HIV or AIDS, is found nearby, going on the road, will we move away? We know we don't. Why? Because we know that it is something which is a non-communicable disease, isn't it? It is a non-communicable disease. But similarly, if you know that there is a person suffering with tuberculosis going by nearby us, we actually will run far away. Why? And we know the reason, because it is a communicable disease. That means if a person is cough, if a person is doing this cough or sneezing and such kind of things, generally yes, there's a possibility that TB would attract them. Now the point here would be a very interesting point that we need to look after, is that how is the situation? Because we know very well that during the COVID-19 pandemic, what happened is a really surprising thing, that every other area in the health system has been sidelined and has been ignored. Isn't it? Every other area in the health system has been ignored and has been sidelined. So is the case with respect to the TB. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused a very huge burden on the world, because the number of people and the kind of efforts that we have brought for dealing with the TB in the world till now has been unable to be processed further. That means whatever the progress that we have made in the world in this TB related things, it has been completely reversed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And it is according to the global TB report, it is mentioned. So India is among those list of countries which has contributed most to the global reduction between 2019 and 20. India, along with Indonesia, Philippines, China and 12 other countries, accounted for 93% of the drop earlier in the number of cases. But the World Health Organization estimates that around 4.1 million people currently suffer from TB, but they have not been diagnosed with it and they have not been officially reported to the authorities also. So earlier in 2019, it is expected that around 2.9 million people could be like that, but it's now increased to 4.1 million. And the provision for the TB treatment, was also reduced to, and many number of people who are treated for drug-resistant TB has decreased by 15%. So which means who are in need, but they haven't got this particular things. So in many countries, the resources are not available. They have been reallocated. So they say that TB is definitely a problem. And there is a need that the world has to wake up and act urgent on this particular matter of TB, so that we could address this problem as soon as possible. Else, it would be having a very, very, very huge impact on us. Because the TB has caused a huge disruption in the COVID-19 especially. So, they say that around 1.5 million people have died from TB in 2020 alone. So, the burden of cases has been increasing, especially in 30 countries where the TB cases are more. So, the World Health Organization is saying that we have to come together and address this problem. Else, if the world doesn't respond to it, that would become a very huge problem according to them. Okay, so that is another important news that we have in this case. Now, moving on to the next one. So, if you remember, some time ago we had a discussion about Ordinance Factory Board. The central government some time ago through ordinance, what they have done is that they have done the corporatization of Ordnance Factory Boards, which means it has been divided into public sector undertakings. So they become corporatization of ordnance factory boards has been done. So while launching these 7 public sector undertakings which are related to the defense, the Prime Minister of India says their aim is to make the world, make India a militarily we have to be powerful, and we have to focus on modern indigenous industry, says the Prime Minister. So he says that we have been trying its best to revamp the 41 ordnance factories. So now this is something which we should have done somewhere around 15 to 20 years, and now they say that this is something which we are doing right now. So they say there is more transparency, more trust, and technology driven approach to. And it's a kind of achievement where the Prime Minister says that defense exports have increased by around 325% in the last 5 years. And he mentions, whatever is happening, it's happened. Now all the pending orders that whatever have been there with respect to this earlier ordnance factory board, they have been converted into contracts with this particular companies worth around 65,000 crores. So employees have been identified and they were dealing with it, and the defense minister called these as a strategic assets. That's the other important thing. Now we are in a young generation. So if there is any election is being held, what we can do is we can go to the polling booth. We can go to the polling booth and vote. But there could be some people who cannot, There could be some people who cannot. So for such kind of things, the Election Commission of India, in coordination with the Telangana State Election Commission, they wanted to do the trial of online voting and remote voting testing. So the many former chief election commissioners have raised some concerns, and one of the primary concern is this. We have been using the electronic voting machines, the EVMs, since very long. I think it's almost been more than 10 to 15 years that we have been using the electronic voting machines. The point is simple, that there is no, many opposition parties are not yet happy with this particular results too. So when you're talking about electronic voting machines, you are finding this kind of issues. Now tomorrow you are allowing them to do the remote voting. How do you think that the opposition parties would allow you to do this? Yes, this could become a political turmoil later. So the former chief election commissioners have raised a lot of concerns here with respect to what is it called, e-voting experiment. That is, where they are trying to look after the remote voting. So Telangana State Election Commission would be carrying out a smartphone app-based online voting experiment. That is something which was announced by the state government. So the Election Commission has said that, last year they have actually started that, looking at the option of remote voting for those people who are unable to reach the polling station they are registered at. But they say that we can actually allow them. So we can actually allow them to ensure that voting could be done from other places and not from internet-based voting from home. Some people say that, why to have this kind of things. So developing an application is easy, but complications it will be having is a tough thing. So for example, when the EVMs are being challenged, how could we be so supportive to this too? But there are some election commissioners who also says that security issues are those which we can overcome, but political hurdles would be really tough. So EVMs itself has taken a lot of time for us to see. So we just have to wait and see how that would be taken up. That is something which we have in the news. And Bhutan is one of the very important neighbors of India. And at any point of time, Bhutan depends on India for its foreign policy, as we all knew this. Bhutan depends on India for its foreign policy. And when you're talking about Bhutan dependent on India, but the Bhutan also have some kind of boundary disputes with the country of China. So they have been trying its best to resolve these particular boundary disputes with China. So to go further into this matter, Bhutan and China have recently signed a 3-step roadmap so that they can speed up their talks, which have been held at a foreign ministers through a video conference. And this roadmap is for expeditious Bhutan-China boundary negotiations, so where they would try to discuss the boundary issues and try to settle them up. So this MOU will be providing a fresh start for them, because earlier it's almost 5-year delay has happened. So they are looking into this. But the Bhutanese embassy in Delhi has not commented on anything about it. But they say it is a sensitive matter and it could not be shared at this particular stage. So that is something which we also have. Now, in the last few days, we have seen Taliban have stated very clearly to US that we will not support US in eliminating the Islamic State from Afghanistan. But after this has happened, the Russian president stated that hundreds of fighters belonging to Islamic State were forming groups in the northern part of Afghanistan where they could move between the ex-Soviet Central Asian countries, where they could move to these countries in the name of refugees. So they say that intelligence, according to the intelligence and according to the number of members of Islamic State in the northern Afghanistan, around 2,000 people, they say that yes, there is a possibility people could disguise themselves as refugees and enter into these countries. So what happens, that could see some kind of issues with respect to it. So we have to be very, very careful in this case. And the Taliban, as we know, they already have taken the control of this Kabul, and they where they are trying to seek international recognition as well as assistance to avoid a humanitarian disaster. So right now this is an issue that's going on. And generally, US-India used to have a ministerial dialogue, and the finance minister of India met the US Treasury Secretary very recently, and where they have involved and included one particular area in their discussion called as climate finance. Because the COP26 of United Nations Framework for the Convention on Climate Change would be held in Glasgow, so most probably from this in the end of October. So they have stated that they would try to support each other, mobilize the funds and all. So on one side, they have been asking, US have been asking India to go and announce a target for the net zero emissions also. Right? These are some common things that we have got in the news. Let's look at a very, very, very interesting thing. Some time ago, Prime Minister has launched, what is it called? Prime Minister Ghati Shakti. So what exactly is it? It's a national master plan. So what do you do through this particular national master plan? So the Prime Minister has launched this program. The major purpose is to focus on infrastructure development, and you want to have a multimodal connectivity, that is different modes of transportation have to be connected, and we want to bring down the cost of the logistics. That is the major purpose of it. So what do they do under this project is, first they will create a digital portal which will connect 16 ministries of center, like starting from roads and highways, railways, shipping, petroleum and gas, power, telecom, shipping, aviation, all. So what happens, all of these ministries could be collaborate on a single platform. So if there is any project that is to be taken up, all of these could come together and discuss that. But what will this portal give them? The portal will provide them the geospatial data. Like they also provide them infrastructure information like roads, highways, railways, toll plazas, forests, rivers, district boundaries, where do you have, what do you have, and what other things are there. So once this is shown very well through this particular maps, it will be easy for them to know what is happening. So the different government departments will be able to track in real time at one place what is the progress of these particular projects. So the objective is that they want to ensure each and every department will have a visibility of each other's activities. So for example, if railways is doing something, so Ministry of Road Transport can know, okay, there is something coming up. So what would be the importance of it? It could save a lot of money, but how? For example, let's say there is a tunnel being built on a road. So that tunnel could be of help, to the railway, to the roads ministry. So they are building it. But now railways has also proposed another similar kind of tunnel nearby. So what you can do is, now instead of building a small tunnel, you can double that particular tunnel, or you can increase the size of a tunnel so that it could be used for both railways as well as the roadways. So what happens with this now? You could save a lot of money, isn't it? Ultimately, the taxpayers' money could be saved. So the government is expecting that this kind of platform would ensure and synchronize all the efforts in a multimodal network. But how will this bring down the logistics cost? So according to some studies, the logistics cost in India are about 13 to 14% of GDP, whereas in other developed economies it's 7 to 8%. So high logistics cost could impact the cost structures within the economy and make it more expensive for the exporters also, so that it will become a kind of a problematic thing. But by involving these kind of schemes, now all these will be able to have a very better idea, right? Some kind of zones are there, like special economic zones are there, like we have created some kind of pharmaceutical clusters, electronic parks, and everyone would know what is happening. So this national master plan has set a target where they are trying to deal with the entire cargo handled in the Indian ports up to 1759 million tons per annum. So the Prime Minister stated that the government is trying to add over 200 airports and all different modes of transportation would be brought up to, and this would promote a kind of a coordination that is a major purpose of it. Okay, right. So we have two topics in fact, but I think like we'll take up one topic here, right? Yeah. So that's going to be, in recent past what we are seeing is there is an increase of every price. Literally, you are seeing the increase in the price of petrol, diesel. It's not just that oils alone, but even the edible oils too, isn't it? We have seen a such kind of situation. Even the edible oils are also making us suffer. So very recently, the Commerce Minister has announced that government has decided to waive off the customs duty on import of the crude sunflower, palm, soya bean. So what happens now when you are waiving of the customs duty? Automatically the price of this particular oils would come down, because India is heavily dependent on the imports when it comes to this particular oil and all, and India is the second largest with respect to consumption of the edible oils. So we import a lot of palm oil first, then goes with respect to soya bean, mustard, and remaining is sunflower, cotton seed, and all. And the homegrown ones are also there. But the point here is that we also have a great demand here, so we have to import. And the price of this oil has been going a lot in the last few months. For example, I still remember that if I would like to take 1 liter of sunflower oil earlier, just let's say about 1 to 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago, it was like 75 rupees to 80 rupees, and today it's 150 rupees. So there is a huge problem with respect to it. So the price of the edible oils has been going up, and moreover, this is a festival time. We know what is going to happen. Elections are also going to come up in the upcoming states of UP, Punjab, Himachal, Goa, and Uttarakhand. So it's very important that the prices have to be brought down. And the government has not just scrapped the customs duty, but they also have slashed the agriculture cess that is levied too. So what happens as a result? They say that it would bring down the cost of these particular things also, where they're expecting the oil may reduce furthermore by 6 to 8 per kg. But still, this is something which we are expecting, but in the long term I don't think that would be a great suggestion for about what government is going to do. So we'll stop it here for the day, and tomorrow, as it is Sunday, we'll not have a session. So next session would be a day after tomorrow, and that is on 18th of October. So guys, you could join an Academy Plus subscription using the code which is being written here. It's Ajay IAS 10. You will get additionally 10% of discount on the offer that is already there in the Academy that is being taken up right now with the almost with the discount. A huge discounts are there, almost with 20 to 35% of discounts are being given. You can join and use this code so that you will get an additional discount on that. So that is all we have for the day. Thank you, have a great day, and everyone have a great